What is up, guys? What is up? Good morning. Happy Saturday. Happy 7 a.m. for those of you who are watching this live. For those of you who are watching this afterward, hello. I'm so happy that you are here. I'm so happy that you're watching this. We're going to jump right in this morning. Welcome to the show. This is a Saturday morning show that I have every single morning, and it's really just a time for us to casually talk about life being in business, life being a creator, life being having those connections with our people, having those genuine connections is something that we talk about a ton. So we talk about all sorts of things on this show, and it's really just an excuse for me to hang out with you guys and be with you. So what are you drinking this morning? Definitely coffee for me. Definitely coffee. So let me know what you're drinking this morning. We're going to jump right in. So really the topic for this morning is a question. If you've noticed, a lot of my titles on my morning shows are questions, and these are questions that I often receive from my clients, from my audience. These are questions that people ask that are really, really valuable and that I want to highlight because we all have these problems and we all get to problem solve and figure out what's going on? What's going on inside the brain? What is going on inside of our life to make these things occur the way that they are occurring? So today we're talking about, okay, like how do I de-stress? How do I de-stress my life? Why am I so stressed in my business? And why is that impacting? Like, why do I feel like everything's against me? All the things. So today we're going to be talking about business and relationships, just how this is impacting our entire life. Because let me tell you, if I do not watch myself, I am a workaholic. I love my work. I love my people, but it gets a little excessive. It gets a little much. So I'm going to give you some tips of things that really helped me kind of pull back the reins of time, but not pull back the reins of efficiency, momentum, energy, and results in my business and really just in my life in general. I'm going to share some tips that I have found to be very, very effective. Some of these things are going to be harder for some of you than others. I am in my 20s. I'm not married. I don't have kids. That being said, I have worked with people to implement these into their life that have families, that have kids, that are married. And so there's no excuse to not take what I'm telling you and apply it to you. You just got to be creative and innovative in how you apply it so that you are able to show up for the people that you get to show up for, which includes yourself. So one of the like the very first tip I would give you for, oh man, like I'm stressing so much about my business. I'm stressing so much about like if I'm going to make it, if I'm going to hit my goals, like all the things. That is telling me 100% that you have not taken a break from your business. Like a legit, I'm not going to do anything break. I am this way as well. For the first several months of starting my business, I was constantly in this office. I constantly had the door shut. I constantly was upset and angry that people were like, when is Katie going to be done? And didn't seem to be supportive of my dreams and goals. But what I realized in all of that messiness was that I was not showing up in all aspects of my life. I was just showing up in one. Let me tell you, there's like a lie inside of us that says you have to spend more time to get more results. And that is not always the case. In fact, oftentimes that is not the case. Let me give you an example. I have what I call Flex Week. It's actually not my own title. My business coach calls it Flex Week, and we apply it as much as we can. And that means that I take the last week of every month off completely, like the whole week. I take it off. I'm not in my business. I'm doing creative stuff. I'm doing art. I'm going out like on like a trip somewhere. I'm hanging out with my sibs. Like I'm doing things that I love and enjoy doing. I'm not in my business for that whole week. Now, that is hard for me. But when I get out of that week and I jump into the first week of the month, oh my goodness, the productivity is insane. I am so ready to jump back into my business. Also, something that I've noticed is when I have that momentum and determination to have that week off, the week before, I'm making a list. I put it on my whiteboard, and I literally write down every single thing that I need to do in the foreseeable future. I write them down into categories. I have my business, I have personal. There's one other one that I have. So I have like 3 different categories, and I write everything down into each of those categories, and then I start just knocking them off. I just start knocking them off, getting them done. And normally what ends up happening is when I'm determined to take that week off, almost 90%, if not 100%, I've totally had the times where I've been like, 100%, it's gone, it's woo woo. Like 100% is what I was shooting for, it's completely finished. Like all the stuff that I had to get done was finished just because I was determined to take the following week off. So when you're stressed and you're in your business and you're just like overwhelmed by all the things you have to do, we can get stuck on the time conversation. We can get stuck on the time conversation, which means we're saying we need to spend more time to get more results. And that's not true. And you should just take a breath in and out, because when you understand that, you're not tethered to like umpteen crazy hours a week working. It does not mean, like, I have weeks where it's really busy and really long, and I have other weeks where it's not so much. So it's finding the balance that works for you. And balance is like this overrated, it's this overrated word. And it's interesting because I always ask myself, like, can balance really happen in life? And I think the funny part is balance doesn't happen when you're looking for it. Balance happens when you let go of your schedule. Balance happens when you let go of the results, of needing the results. I was talking to one of my good friends who's a mom of 3 kids, and it was so precious because we were talking about schedules, and she said, man, like I find myself holding myself to a crazy schedule, and then the schedule is about the schedule. It's not about like my people. It's Peter. Woo woo. Good morning. You're still in your jammies. It's 7 a.m. here. I'm getting up. I love it. Yeah, so like the reality is, and that's coming from a mom, like sometimes we get to let go of our schedule and let go of the expectations and results. And that's probably the biggest aspect where I shifted from stressed all the time about my business to, okay, I can let go of this. I can let go of this. It's all good. Like whatever happens, happens. So tip number 1 is take a break from your business. Take a break. I'm in my 20s and I have lots of energy and momentum that I get to build that older people may not necessarily have, although I think that's definitely a stereotype. And I've met a whole lot of older people who are like killing it and have just as much energy and momentum as I do. But oftentimes we can feel like, oh man. But here's what I would say. If you're a younger person and you're just going like crazy hours all the time, that is not good for your body. It is not good for your brain. Just because you're younger doesn't mean you take advantage of your body and your mental, spiritual, like every aspect of you. Don't take advantage of that. Don't take advantage of that, because to be honest with you, I'm in my 20s and I've had like joint surgeries and I have all these things that I have to deal with. And it's interesting because I have people come up to me and say, oh, well, like they'll talk about like arthritis and all these things when they get older, and they'll be like, oh, like, you'll know what it's like when you get to my age. And I'm like, actually, I understand now. Like I get it now. And that's actually sort of a mixed blessing because it helps me have empathy, but it also helps me understand that stereotypes are indeed just stereotypes. They're not really like, we shouldn't judge people for the amount of time they can spend in their business or the amount of energy they have. We just don't do that because everybody's different. So be in touch with how you're doing physically, mentally, emotionally, and like I always say, like, challenge yourself, don't push yourself. Challenge yourself, don't push yourself. That means you get to intentionally challenge yourself and say, I want to see what I'm made of. But it doesn't mean pushing yourself off the edge of the cliff until you're timed out. because I had a summer like that where I was just going crazy. It was the end of high school, and I was going absolutely insane. I was working all week long at my church, and it was good work, but it was a lot of work. And I was doing full-time classes. I was doing theater. I was like, again, this is end of high school. I was doing high school classes. I was doing college classes. I was doing theater. I was doing church all week, like crazy, crazy schedule. And eventually that summer, I just totally tapped out. I was on the couch all the time. I literally could not move because it hurt so bad. Like I had terrible shoulder pain, all the things. And I tell you this because I was like 18, 19, and this stuff was happening to me. And I was like, oh my goodness, what in the world? And I remember the doctor telling me, Katie, if you keep on going at this rate, if you keep on pushing like you're doing right now, then you're going to end up with arthritis and tendonitis and everything in your back and your shoulders by your 30s. And I'm like, great. You're telling a not even 20-year-old that she's already tapped out. And I learned from that point on that part of what the doctor was saying was true, and part of it I was not going to listen to. I realized that I got to push I get to challenge myself, not push myself. I get to challenge myself and build that momentum and learn new skills, but I get to work smart. I get to work smart. There's so many people out there that say like work hard, don't work smart. That's like my mantra. I love that. Absolutely love that. So that would be my second tip. So the first tip, Peter says, be content and unsatisfied at the same time. Helps you to be happy, but always moving forward. I love it. Yes. And that is the life of a YouTube creator as well, because oftentimes we can get stuck in the numbers that we don't have, and we're constantly chasing them. It's like, okay, we were watching Mulan, like the original cartoon, like the original Disney animated movie. Crazy, right? We were watching that last night, and it was so funny because Mulan, she puts like a string and a bone in front of the dog, and the dog is constantly chasing that bone everywhere, not realizing that if he had like pushed it up against a tree, he would have been able to get the bone. He was just chasing it as if he would reach it someday. Like he would get to it, even though he was just constantly just chasing a bone that was out where he couldn't reach it. And it made me think like, wow, do we work that way sometimes? Are we just chasing a moving object that we're not able to get to? Or are we really being smart and efficient with our time? And time is something that we can't get back. So time is so, so valuable and so important to be intentional about, to be really intentional about. It's very, very important. So think about, are you taking a break in your business? And are you being super intentional with working smart? Are you being intentional about working smart? Sometimes that means asking for help. There's been times in my business where I get to ask for help. And some of that 100% had to do with like investing into business coaching. It's been like the best thing I've ever done in my life, because like it's totally changed me from, I wish you guys knew me. Well, honestly, like if you go back and watch my previous YouTube videos at the beginning of 2020, then you'll know me. I was shy. I was insecure about being on YouTube. I was insecure about being in my business. I was insecure about asking people to pay for services. I was really, really nervous all the time, and just not really enrolled into my own vision for my life. And if you're not enrolled, then you can't enroll anybody else. Which is why we work so much on like getting you out of your head. That's why I talk about it so much, because it's like the main thing that was getting me stuck in my business, in my content creation. I needed to get out of my head and stop thinking about what everybody else was thinking about, if they were thinking about me, right? Like all of the things you gotta get out of your head when you're creating content. You've got to let the analytical side of you go a little bit to create and go crazy and have a good time and learn so much, because the analytical side of us makes us stuck. It makes us stuck. It says, hold up, Katie, I think that you're doing this the wrong way. Like, I think you need to think about it first, and then you need to formulate a plan, and then you need to do this. It's not that formulating a plan is a bad thing, but sometimes it holds us back from doing what we know we were meant to do, doing what we know we can do. It holds us back by saying, I think you should think about this. And by the time you think about this, you're not going to want to do it anyway. It's like our wall that we put up that protects us from growing or changing or doing anything challenging at all. And it's good in some cases and not so good in others. And I find oftentimes in business, it's not as good as other aspects of my personality and other aspects of who I am. I just find that to be very true. And everybody, like, listen, everybody's going to be different. Everybody's personalities are different, but pay attention to the core of everything that I'm telling you, not so much how it's applied. Because you're going to have to apply it in a different way. If you're in a different aspect of life and you're a different time in life, if you are younger or older, whatever that even means. Robert Scrobe, I was interviewing him for one of my shows, and he said, Katie, you're either too young or you're too old. You're never in between, because everybody's always looking at you in relationship to themselves. So just forget about age and just do what you want to do. And I was like, that is one of the smartest things I've ever heard said about age. And I just don't even care anymore. It's like, whatever. If you're too young, who cares? If you're too old, whatever. That's just somebody's perception of you. So don't get stuck on it. That was a random tip that just gets to be thrown in. So take a break in your business. Work smart, not hard. It's like work smart and hard, but not hard as in it's too early. Anyway. And then like pay attention to how much you're in your head. Pay attention. When you run up to something, when you find yourself in a new opportunity, this is huge for me. This is what happened. Honestly, when I first enrolled into business coaching, I was so scared and worried, and I was like, I don't know if I have the money for it, and blah, 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 all the things. And it was interesting because when I was faced with a new opportunity, I felt myself just hold back. And here's what held me back. It was asking the question, what if this fails? What if I don't get results? What if I don't make the money? What if I don't get off my feet? Get on my feet. Words. Like, what if this doesn't work for me? What if this doesn't work for me? And now I flip that question. When I'm trying to decide on something, I ask myself, what if this does work? It's not that you ignore the risk. You have to be like eyes open, walking into an opportunity, understanding the risk. But here's the question. What if this did work? What if this did create this result? What would happen in my life? And that was how I shifted my question when I jumped into having a coach and having like an amazing group of people that I work with every single day to support them, to support me, to build our businesses up. Like, and that is what made me realize I get to be a coach too. Like, it's a chain reaction. In high school, I looked back at high school and I'm like, did I waste my time? ? And I have a hard time with that question because I truly believe that all the time that we spend, we learn something from. That's the application in me. But the reality is I spent a lot of time thinking that my career choices, my career shifts were for the rest of my life, which was a mistake, which was a waste of time. The waste of time was like the mental energy I was putting into thinking I was going to do one thing for the rest of my life. The reality is, guys, I will always be shifting. I will always be growing. I will always be building. I never want to stay in the same place twice because it's just not who I am. And that means that we're constantly growing in this community. We are constantly learning new things and adding new tools to our toolbox. That's just how we are here. So the thing that has blessed me the most when it comes to that kind of mentality is that I'm not stressed about this one aspect of my business anymore. I'm not stressed about, am I going to be able to make that? Am I going to be able to get that thing done for that client? Am I going to be able to support this creator in doing what they want to do? Are we going to get the results? All those questions, they're uncertainties, and they're not even necessarily associated with what you have control over. So pay attention to the questions that you are asking yourself. Are you asking yourself questions that doom you to depression, stress, overwhelm? Or are you asking questions that are actually going to problem solve and figure stuff out for you? Are you asking yourself questions that are going to bring you into energy and momentum and into getting stuff done? Are you? Peter says, I'm on career 5.5. Peter, this is why I love you. This is like, there's so many reasons. See, like, this is, that is so great, by the way. That is how I'm going to be 100%. They all kind of lead off of each other. All of the skill sets that I have obtained lead off of each other. They're all like creating this version of Katie that's like, it's constantly just like being revised. And I love that. I love that so much. And it's like freeing to let go of this traditional view that we are going to have the same career for the rest of our life. How boring is that? I mean, for someone like me, that sounds like the worst thing. It sounds like I've been condemned. Like it's not good. There's so much freedom in letting go of the results. Letting go of the results and just walking forward, trusting that you can make it happen. So much. Like, this is what it's about. And that's like, oh, Peter, you're hilarious. Like, we get to have a good time while we're doing stuff. I love this. This is like a perfect example. Like I am a very funny, happy person naturally. And so that means that I bring a lot of energy and momentum to my business very naturally because I'm that way. Some of you, it's work. But it doesn't have to always be work. Some of us, our childhood was not so happy, and our how we grew up was not so fun. And we get to choose to be a different person now than we were forward. I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful childhood and lots of wonderful memories. And I don't take that for granted because I know there are so many people who are carrying a lot of baggage. But even when you have a great family, even when you have great memories to think about, there's still always things that you carry 100%. And that is something that I am realizing and just taking in and then burying and moving forward. Like, so much of our stress comes from what we're telling ourselves. So I'm going to end with this. The thing that I realized, I was doing some leadership training this last week, and I'm jumping into more this coming week. And it was interesting because one of the things I realized about myself is I'm constantly telling myself, like internally, I have this nasty little girl inside of me that's saying, Katie, you've done this before. You've tried this before. It's like the five career and a half, right? Like, you've done this before. You've tried this before, and it just doesn't work for you. Like, stop investing, stop putting in money and energy and time into something that, like, I know you're going to fail at. That's the conversation in my head. And when that little girl, and maybe she's the older girl, I don't know. When that voice comes into my head, I get to stop whatever I'm doing and I get to say, you don't control me. You don't control me. And I'm moving forward anyway. And then I go get to have like a dance party or something to build my momentum up. Whatever it is. But I have to stop and really ask myself, like, why am I telling myself this right now? Why am I telling myself this right now? So pay attention to your language. I said that to one of my siblings the other day, and they're like, I wasn't swearing. And I thought it was so funny because we've shifted into thinking that language is just swearing, like cultural bad words. But language is everything that we say. Language is how we act in our body. Language is how we communicate. in any shape or form to anyone, including ourselves. So pay attention to your language, pay attention to how you talk to yourself, because that also impacts how you talk to other people. It does. It's crazy. All right, you guys. It is almost 7:30. This is like generally a 20-minute show. You just never know with me. But now that it's 7 a.m. instead of 6 a.m., I love it because I feel way more energy and way more clarity, and I don't feel like I'm just waking up. So yes. Anyway, all right, you guys. I hope this was valuable for you. I hope this was helpful. Just, for some of you, this is a refresher. This is a reminder of what you already know. For some of you, you're like, mind blown. I didn't even think about these things and why they were stressing me in my business. So wherever you're at, I hope this was helpful for you. And I will see you guys all on Wednesday for YouTube. All of you people, lovely people who are in my business, I'll see you all week. And love you all so very much. I love you being a part of this community. You are like just this empire I get to build is so exciting because I just see all of you really like stepping into your leadership and stepping into creating things, stepping into taking action. And that is the most exciting and honorable thing that I can think of. It's the reason that I'm here. And so to see you guys taking action is like the most amazing thing. So anyway, I hope you have an awesome, awesome Saturday. And I'm going to drink the rest of my coffee and get to work. And I will see you all later. All right, you guys. Bye.